So this event is going to run about 2 hours. There are lots of fun readings, 2 giveaways, and even Jeopardy. So I guess introductions are in order. Hi, everyone. I'm PL McMillan, and I am hosting this event for, well, it's a book launch, and it's really exciting. It's for Aseptic and Faintly Sadistic, which is out now. Carson was kind enough to link it. So if you click on that link, you can jump to the website and grab your copy, of which I would definitely recommend. It was published by Cosmic Horror Monthly and edited by Jolie Tumajan, which hopefully I said right. Hello, yay. So let's go and actually meet my 2 co-hosts, Jolie Tumajan and Chelsea Pumpkins. If you've been on my channel, Plum Talks, before, they are both very familiar faces. From the interview I did with Jolie about this very anthology to Chelsea Pumpkins causing absolute chaos during the 90s event.
I bring the chaos.
But let's do the formal introductions, which Jolie wrote Nobody Special, which everyone here knows is not true. Not only is she insanely intelligent, she's defending her dissertation soon. Is that correct?
Yeah,
November. She's also a writer, an editor, and a connoisseur of nail art. Chelsea Pumpkins did not put your name in here. I'll just make it up.
You told me to put it at the bottom, but you can make it up. That'd be more fun.
But you're not at the bottom.
It's in the agenda.
Oh, in the agenda. Okay, let me go down there. Here we go. Chelsea Pumpkin is a writer from the state, I hate to say, because I always say it wrong, so I'll just say it wrong, Massachusetts, who stays curious about all things macabre. When she's not reading, writing, or watching something spooky, you may find her hiking in the White Mountains with her husband and sweet pit bull Moose. You can read her stories in various horror anthologies and in Shortwave magazine. She's the editor of That's What I Call Horror, an anthology of 90s horror, and a co-host of the Cutthroat Queens podcast, which is an amazing podcast. You should definitely check it out. You can learn more about her at chelseapumpkins.com or follow her at Chelsea Pumpkins on Twitter. So welcome, you two. Hello, and thank you for co-hosting. So they will, Chelsea is my Vanna White, so she will be doing the giveaways, and they will both be taking care of the game at the end. But first, let's focus on Jolie. So you are the editor of this beautiful, if you can see it, beautiful anthology, again, Aseptic and Faintly Sadistic, out now. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this anthology?
It is fantastic. I worked with Cosmic Horror Monthly to put out Aseptic and Faintly Sadistic, which, if you're here, you probably know, but it's an anthology of stories, mostly horror, though it's under like the speculative umbrella, that are all written on the theme of hysteria from the point of view of, I believe I said, those directed effectively by the fall of Roe versus Wade. And the tone of the anthology runs the gamut from the meditative to the outraged to the sad to the joyful and playful, but all of them really engage with this topic in a fascinating way. The writing skill that's on display in this anthology, like the pure technical skill, is beyond. And you're all going to get to see that with the selection of readers we have tonight, especially.
Yes, and that is super exciting. I will be introducing all the writers as we get to their stories, so definitely keep an ear open for that. But what do you hope readers will take away from this anthology?
So this is actually probably the hardest question that I've been asked on like my little like press junket that I've done. For some, I was hoping comfort. Because it's ironic, but having read these stories and having read them over and over again, it makes me feel at least 30% less insane that like, oh, okay, we're all seeing this. We can all see this. Okay, great. We're all seeing this. I'm not the only one out here like frustrated and angry and do you guys see this as like my favorite horror thread? And there's a lot of that here in a lot of different ways. And so there's that. And I think if you can't take or don't need the comfort, I think it offers a glimpse of that fury at injustice that so many people, and women especially, keep so tightly under wraps because there are severe penalties for letting it out. And I think that taking a good look at that fury is like educational and necessary. And so, yeah, some comfort and some anger in each, hand in hand.
Yes, I absolutely love that and agree. So I guess we did hit the tough question first. So let's do the cutest question, I guess. What has been your favorite part of editing this anthology?
All of it. All of it.
No, that's a shitty answer.
For removing the tabs, except for removing all of the tabbed edits and trying to figure out the stuff and formatting it in the Word document, all of it was the best thing. I got to work with a bunch of slush readers who were invaluable. Like, that team was incredible to work with. I got to work with an amazing, it benefits, oh yeah, that's right. And it benefits the Chicago Abortion Fund. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm a little sick, so we're doing this on NyQuil today.
Drop a link.
So I got to work with a team of slush readers, and that was incredible. And I got to read these hundreds of vibrant stories that were terrifying and emotional. And I got to sit down and edit 26 like powerhouse writers and really get to sit down and see how they build their work and how much work went into it for these stories, from like the longest to the shortest. So yeah, getting to really get my hands in these stories has been amazing. And my second favorite part is, let's see. Oh, the angry emails from pro-lifers. Hello. It's nice to see you, gentlemen. We're still here.
I definitely saw one of the posts from that. And it was just so silly. It was like, get a life. Wait, that was kind of...
Was his name Charles, or did I make that up? You were like, thank you, Charles.
Yeah, thank you, Charles.
Not you, Charles Tyra.
Who is wonderful. All right. So with that, Jolie, please rest.
I'm going to dip out until the game, everybody. I'm here if there's anything you need.
We love you. Rest now, you beautiful queen. Which now means we get the exciting time to jump into readings. Yay! I hope everyone is ready to be terrified and have their heart broken and have chills run down their spines, because this is about to happen. So our first reader, and anyone who has watched my videos knows I'm terrible at pronouncing it. So if I mess anything up, please feel free to just hit me, but I will try my best. But our first reader is Diane Callahan.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. You got it. I got it in one.
Yes. She is a writer, editor, and YouTuber who really needs to sleep more. You can read more of her work in Consequence, Translunar Traveler's Lounge. Oh no, Aurelia, Leo, maybe.
Aurelio?
Aurelio?
Yeah,
Leo.
sounds right.
Tales to Terrify and Short Edition, among others. You'll also find her musings about speculative fiction on Tor.com. You can follow her online at, I'm just going to share this because it's spelling, but quotidian writer, maybe?
Quotidian writer. Yeah, you got it.
I try my best. Try my best. Well, thank you for coming and joining us here. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure. Yeah, my story is titled The Voice of Nothing. And this entire story was inspired by the poem Elm by Sylvia Plath. So even just the structure of it, and also it breaks into poetry at times within the prose. So, and so there's actually an epigraph from the poem Elm that reads, "I am terrified by this dark thing that sleeps in me. All day I feel its soft, feathery turnings, its malignity." And so from that, I was like, oh, I want to write a story that's about these lines. And that's where it came from.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And so everyone open up your ear holes and let's go.
Yes, I'll be reading the first scene from it, the opening scene. Elm, my lovers always begin. Why do you sleep with your eyes open? I tell them all the same lie. When I was a little girl, I followed my mother's screams to my parents' bedroom, wanting somehow to help heal her hurt. My father was so disappointed that I'd interrupted their meeting that he beat me senseless, and I slept for 6 days straight with my eyes open. I could see and hear everything around me. Doctors talking about what to do with this rag doll of a girl. My mother murmuring at my bedside about how I shouldn't have been so nosy, how my father would have left me alone if I hadn't called attention to myself. Eventually, I woke up and was none the worse for wear, except I could no longer sleep any other way, as if my eyes were always trying to see and know, striving for omniscience. That story is true, almost because I leave out the part about the fluttering inside me that began that day. The feathery stirring has grown year by year, sating itself on something deep within me. And now that I'm 24, it threatens to overwhelm my body with its presence. A winged creature lives between my breastbones. It yearns to burst free. That is why I sleep with my eyes wide toward the ceiling in expectation. That is why I rest without truly resting. The moment that creature emerges, as I know it will, I want to touch its feathers, feel their ethereal silkiness. I have this unending need to meet the painful companion that's lived in me like a parasite all these years. I imagine the moment often. Black plumes, a silver beak, the unblinking stare of eyes that know me like no other, and inexplicably the smell of almonds, light and sweet. I've scratched through the skin of my stomach, my arms, my legs, the compulsion leaving me with scars. I eat like a bird in hopes that my bones will grow lighter, my face sharper. My body is covered in signs of attempted escapes, but I'm still here, trapped inside myself. Not long ago, I made the ultimate attempt at freedom, and that's what led my mother to imprison me in this crumbling house near the sea, distance from civilization, with nothing to distract me from my rest. The place reeks of my mother's Victorian sensibilities, from the gaudy couches to the dark wood paneling. The ghost of my father lives here too, and the stench of cigars he left behind. My parents used to vacation here every July, while I would go off to one summer excursion or another, as far away as I was allowed. Even though I can't leave this house, lovers still find me, or rather, I seek them in every stranger who passes through our door. My latest to be admired is the house painter hired to strip the yellow wallpaper in the living room and paint it a robin's egg blue, my mother's choice of color, probably to pacify me into thinking some trace of sky exists within these walls. The house painter is my exact height, so we meet eye to eye whenever we try to walk through the same doorway. I sit to read in the living room as he works and ask him innocent questions about what techniques he uses, where else he's been in our fair coastal village, if he wants to step outside to breathe with me. An hour later, he's examining the chandelier on my bedroom ceiling, the sheets damp beneath us, and the sound of the sea rushing through an open window. When he smiles, the skin around his eyes wrinkles, and that makes me want to confide in him. After I describe the heaviness that's always perched on the edge of my soul, he looks down at me as I lie on his bare chest and asks, "Does it hurt?" And I say, "It's like having talons digging into me all over my body, a shifting weight nothing can lift." I toy with the strand of his long dark hair that spilled out of his ponytail. So it does hurt in a soft, constant sort of way. He makes a humming noise and glances away from me. I decide this is his final visit to paradise, and I'm prepared to steal the sheets from him when my bedroom door swings open. My mother looms at the threshold with a brooding look. The wings spread inside of me, trying to expand to their full length, and I feel my skin stretch with the movement. "I can't believe this, Elm, under my own roof," she announces in her reedy voice. The painter scrambles for his pants. "Ma'am, he begins, but my mother silences him with a smile. "Hunter, I'm so sorry my daughter's distracting you from your work. Please go downstairs and finish the job. You've been worth every expense so far." The boy leaves with his tail between his muscled legs, and my mother levels me with the full force of her stare. She doesn't even turn away to give me privacy while I dress. All of a sudden, it's like I'm viewing my body through my mother's eyes, all that hair and fat layered on me. Her disgust roils in my stomach. "From now on, don't talk to any of our male guests," she barks. I stand and pull on my dress. "Well, we weren't doing much talking." Her neck reddens. "Why do you embarrass yourself like this? Why can't you stop with this rebellious streak? Think of what your father would say, God rest his soul." Her comments glide off my skin. She's said worse before. "At least he'd just call me a whore instead of talking my ear off." My mother steps toward me, her rosy perfume following her. "All this melodrama? I know you're only seeking attention, but there are better ways to achieve that. And stop all that ugly scratching or you'll need surgery to remove the scarring. No man wants to marry damaged goods. She grabs my wrist before I can stop her and pushes up the sleeve of my dress. The skin is raw and livid pink, but not deep enough to bleed. Seeing the scratches makes my hand twitch, begging me to dig deeper and trembling, wavering wings, the need to maim. I snap back and let my mother have my arm. Why do you keep hurting yourself like this? She mutters. She doesn't know the creature in my chest, how it writhes and grows. There's no point in telling her. She would place all the blame on it and none on herself. It's the 1,000th time we have done this dance, and I know the steps well. I say, I won't get any better if I'm here alone all the time. Her eyes are devoid of all feeling as she walks back to the doorway, tossing words over her shoulder. You won't be alone. I've hired a new music teacher for you, a woman this time. She comes highly recommended, very patient and kind, I hear. Maybe you can learn from that. Of course, mother dearest. I never hide the contempt in my voice. She doesn't seem to realize that womanhood is not a barrier to love. In fact, it's quite the opposite. This is how I meet you. Ta-da.
Yay, amazing. Can I ask, when it was talking, when you were reading the part about the living room, you mentioned yellow wallpaper. Is that a certain little Easter egg?
This is actually like a continuation of the yellow wallpaper, where instead of it's like the husband, it's the mom. And so, yeah, this does come from the yellow wallpaper too. So
Beautiful.
Great job reading it.
Yes. Yes, definitely an amazing reading. A lot of comments and chat for you, Diane. Beautiful, fantastic, gorgeous. Nina says, okay, but that reading was on point. Amazing delivery. Lots of broken heart, beautiful emojis. And a lot of enjoyment of, well, we weren't doing much talking. Julie says, yes, you pulled me along just like the story does. Next reader. Dun, 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 dun. I had to check my agenda here. Sure, yeah. Laura Blackwell, hello. So Laura Blackwell has the easiest name, I think, and is also a Pushcart nominated writer of speculative fiction. Her stories have appeared in Nightmare Pseudopod and Cat's Cast, among others. She's the copy editor for the Deadlands and co-hosts the online reading series Story Hour. You can find her online at pronouncedlaura.com and on Twitter at pronouncedlaura. And there's a spelling for that, so I will share that. But welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little about your story?
Yes, this story is based on a classic of English literature, Jane Eyre. And it's a take on one of the characters who I really didn't feel got a good break in Jane Eyre, the first wife, Bertha Mason Rochester. I can't do her accent, unfortunately, so you're just going to imagine this fabulous upper crust Jamaican English tinged accent.
Okay, well, that sounds really exciting. Everyone's already super excited in the chat. A lot of people who've read it say that they love the story already. Yes, Bertha, give Bertha props, says Elle. Okay, so give us a little read.
All right, so this is an excerpt from The First Mrs. Edward Rochester Would Like a Word. Ladies, thank you all for answering my wordless cry across the moors. It is difficult to attend, I know, when one has been maligned and cast aside, and I am grateful that your angry spirits had enough passion in them to heed my call and undertake the journey. Thank you as well, I suppose, Edward. I'm surprised that you came to my ash-strewn grave. You seldom visited me in the attic. However, since you have always believed everything was about you, I will speak to you first. The ghost ladies congregated in this ruin, being dead, have already waited a long time. You still live, and you never were good at waiting. You loved me in Jamaica, where I was in my element, encompassing heat, the scents of orchid and lignum vitae, the full run of a grand house, and my fortune. You and I seemed equally capricious, equally wild in our pursuit of pleasure and joy. You courted me, married me, and upon knowing my teeth as well as my soft places, declared me mad. Rather than leave me or my 30,000 pounds, you took me to England and locked me in the attic of your estate, where you could enjoy the free reign of my money without looking me in the face. Thornfield, you called your home, a ludicrous name that yet described our marriage perfectly, a field that bore barbs instead of fruit. For years, I shivered in the attic, desiccating into a frozen husk of myself as I dreamt of home. You took this time to travel the continent, spending my money, dallying where you might and with whom you might. It gave me time to hone the blade of my resentment, to scheme as I stole the occasional knife or candle from my jailer. With no company but the cold and taciturn Englishwoman you hired to watch me, I thought of where I would dwell and whose company I would seek when I was free. In that chill and loveless place, deprived of sun and spice, of fragrance and flesh, who would not go a little mad? You have ceased calling me Mrs. Edward Rochester. Now that you've heard your name, I have your drifting attention back. As if your name were a gift you could take back. I will keep it, for I have earned it and I have suffered for it. But perhaps I should seek the wisdom of my maiden name. I was born Bertha Antoinetta Mason. And what is a mason but a builder? I remember the night the governess arrived at Thornfield to teach the child you swore was not one of your bybelows. I noticed the young woman, not much more than a child herself, entering the house like a fresh, bracing breeze. I felt the fire of your love, not just for her clear, pale skin and petite figure, but for what you would call her innocence, the unworldliness that let her believe you to be good. For her cleverness, which you played with like a puzzle, setting for her little tasks to pass or fail. For her sense of duty, bound to bring whatever goodness you might have to the forefront, or else instill you with her own. My jailer seldom spoke to me, but I listened at the floor and learned that the governess was called Miss Air. It suited her. Air, the element of mind. She is intelligent, no doubt of that. And air, like water, takes the form of its container. And Edward, the life you provide a wife is always one of containment. I should know. It was a pleasure to set a fire in that attic. Those drafty rooms, rickety and swaying at the top of your chilly house, became as warm as Jamaica, as home. I should have built myself tall, reached to the sun above, instead of giving myself to the icy chambers of your home and your heart. When I destroyed Thornfield, I showed your naive bride your falseness, your cruelty. With the fire raging, I was sure to die at Thornfield, but I refused to lend my life within the walls you used to box me in. A rescue would have been worse yet, your arms containing me until I could be locked away within colder walls. That is why I jumped. As I fell, so briefly in the sun again, so briefly beneath the blue sky, I sent out a prayer, a summoning, a cry across the moors to all the wives like me who lived and died unloved elsewhere in the world, in other times, in other books. To you, mysterious Ligeia, who refused to be replaced. To you, women of Salem Village, hanged for your share of firewood. To you, Medea, abandoned for a princess and made into a murderer by a playwright paid to absolve a city's shame. I offer this place. All you wives written over and reduced to evil memories, you have a home at last. Women of fiction, women of fact-made fiction, I am here for you. All the mad wives and monstrous wives who disappointed and were disappointed, all you who were found wanting because you dared to want, the iron gate of Thornfield stands open to you. Defiant women, rise from this grand estate of ruin and rubble, of trees emerging from ash. Let Thornfield become a spectral home for all the vengeful ghosts of ill-used wives. Build its rooms with the planks from the gallows. Pave its floors with our bones. Perfume it with the dust of wedding bouquets tossed and caught, with hopes forever unrealized. I'm a mason, and I will build. Ah, now I feel a breeze. Someone else has heard my call from across the moors. Thank you.
So good.
Laura, are you an actress?
No, I'm just dramatic.
That was amazing.
I said that's amazing. And then I was reading Nina's comment where she says she thinks every single edition of Jane Eyre from now on should come with this amazing story. Lots of fire emojis in chat. Destroy him, Bertha. People loving the quote, "What is a mason but a builder?" And a lot of compliments for your reading voice. So very well done, and thank you. And okay, next up for reading, we have Alex Laurel Lanz. Get to your bio here.
You don't need to.
Oh, you didn't
I am
provide a
here.
bio. Okay.
I'm here.
Alex is a super talented author whose works can be found online. Do you have a website?
I don't. No, I just.
Twitter?
I do have Twitter. Twitter is just my name, Alex Laurel Lanz, all one word.
Perfect.
I'm mostly shit posting on there.
I mean, that's
Um,
fair.
Yeah, and I'm really just a bunch of rats in a trench coat. In actuality.
Perfect.
But that's me.
Well,
Okay.
for a bunch of rats, I feel like you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Did you want to tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure. So my story is kind of an abstract second person telling of witnessing, being the sole witness to something terrible. And essentially me trying to vocalize my feelings as someone who is chronically ill and my disability being very, very much linked to Roe v. Wade. And this is my perspective on it. So.
All right. So everyone give it up. And Alex, please go ahead.
All right. So the heaviest fall the furthest. It falls like a meteorite striking the earth, plummeting through the sky so quick it becomes a blur, until it collides into the sidewalk with a cracking thump. It's a body, a person. Her face is locked onto yours, wide eyes staring into you, mouth gaping open, limbs bent at impossible angles, red blooms around her head like a halo. Then you scream so loud you fall backwards and skitter across the pavement, kicking yourself away in a frenzied panic races through your veins. What's happening? There's a voice, almost lost to the volume of your screams. A shadow soaks over you before you realize that a person is approaching. You force yourself to break away from the woman on the sidewalk, pressing your eyes shut as if darkness could blot her face away. A stiff hand nudges your shoulder and your screams dissolve into nothing. I don't know, you finally say, your throat constrictor tight. Behind your eyelids, her face pierces through your thoughts, how her mouth opened like she was going to tell you something. What do you mean you don't know? What happened to that woman? You crane your head to meet his face. H is wrapped over his sharp features, wrinkles webbing from his eyes as they bore into you. The street lamps flick on one by one, the sky drifting into night above the rows of brick buildings. Usually the city streets at this time are so peaceful, so quiet and serene. Your fingernails dig into your palms and you pull your knees up to your chest and wrap your arms around them like you did when you were scared of storms as a child. Those last moments repeat in your mind, the whirling limbs, the thunderous clap of breaking bones, the blood. Is she dead? The thought strikes you with an aftertaste of guilt as soon as you say it. You're too busy screaming to check. Oh my God, is she dead? We need to help her. Call someone. The old man glances over to her, shifting his weight. His chin moves like he's chewing on his thoughts. What's going on here? Another voice calls. It's another man, jogging over from across the street. Call an ambulance, you yell back, tightening the grip on yourself. Call 911, someone's really hurt. We'll get to that later. The old man sucks his teeth. The jogger stops at the curb, sweat coating his ruddy skin. His thick eyebrows bunch up at the moment he looks at you. Didn't you hear me calling? Hey, I said we'll get to that. The old man pushes a gnarled hand like he's stopping traffic. You have a phone. Its existence was lost to the rabid thoughts, the sight of her mangled body. But now you remember that you have a phone and it's in your purse that's no longer dangling from your arm. This yours? The jogger holds it up, your purse. You must have dropped it when this all started. Yeah, my phone is in there. Please just call someone. Every part of you trembles in the hot evening air, chills dancing up your spine. He digs into it, all the random mementos that you're too sentimental to throw away clinging together. Strangers are touching your stuff, but you can't connect to all of this, to anything, when the sound of the body splattering against pavement echoes through your mind. Says here you live up the street, the jogger says. Your ID is in his fist, and he keeps glancing between it and you as if he's verifying it yourself. It still takes a moment to notice he's talking to you, about you. He probably walks here a lot, the old man concedes. Why does it matter? Why does any of this matter right now? All your thoughts move like slugs in the rain. Your mouth opens, knowing you need to say something, but you can't think of what. Can't think of anything besides how wrong it is you're here at all. Any possible sentence dies in confusion on your tongue. What happened here? Another voice sounds, another man, walking out into the stoop with creaking boots. He adjusts the baseball cap on his head as he descends onto the sidewalk. We're trying to figure that out. The jogger keeps his gaze steady on you and his grip even steadier on your purse. Seems to be that this lady was walking up the street and that happened. The old man nods towards the woman. Now we're just trying to get to the bottom of this. The capped man steps behind you. The heat radiating off his body makes you straight and stiff, your back arcing. He breathes like a bull, and you imagine that there are twin puffs of smoke that stream out of his nostrils with every exhale. If you're not going to call anyone, give me my purse back. You lift an open hand to receive it, but he recoils, holding it as far away from you as he can. It dangles from his arm like an overripe fruit, and his lips quirk up, edging on a grin. Ma'am, the word is coarse and rough out of the old man's lips. If you tell us what happened, we can sort this all out. What do you mean, what happened? I was walking here and she fell right there. You point back in her direction, though you can't bring yourself to look, as you can fucking see. So a person just ended up like that? She fell. The words snake out between your clenched teeth. You were walking here alone at this time of night, and some random person just so happened to fall right in front of you. That doesn't make any sense. The cat man crosses his arms, and all of them look taller than the brick buildings that line this street. Why won't you do something? A hot wave turns in your gut, indignant and wild. The nonsense of all this, the indifference. Are you overreacting? Look at this. The jogger is holding something else in his palm. It's a small metal tin you keep tucked into one of the side pockets of your purse. She's a drug user. The cat man leans over you to examine it. The smell of sweat burns your nose. It's aspirin, you say. A few aspirin that you keep in your bag for when the lights get too bright and your eyes grow so tired, and you get that pulsing in your temples that makes it so hard to concentrate, but you just need to finish your shift. It's not drugs, it's only aspirin. Looks like drugs to me. The cat man shakes his head. That hot wave boils up your throat, and even though your legs still feel loose and wobbly, you find your way to your feet. Give it back, you demand, lunging an arm out to seize it. Hard and strong, a hand clamps around your wrist. The capped man's fingers are so big it feels like a cuff. You're a twig in his grasp. You try to tell him to let you go, but the words are just squeaks, and the squirming against his grip only cements the fact that you are so much smaller than him. Tell us what really happened. Hot breath plumes over your cheek and you wince, trying to twist your arm free. A fox caught in a bear trap. Your throat tightens, thoughts sputtering. Something lurches in your peripheral. A car, a police cruiser. It pulls up to the curb, streetlights streaking across its black hood. A small ripple of relief rolls down your shoulders. Someone must have called after all, and you'll be cut free, and this poor broken woman on the sidewalk will end up where she needs to be. Everything will be in its place, and you can scrub this hour away and resist letting your mind wander back to it when you're struggling to fall asleep. Evening, folks. The officer tips his hat as he gets out of his car, his mustache working with every word he says. Can you all tell me what's going on here? Officer, please. Your words shoot rapid fire. That woman fell and she's lying. The Catman interjects, droplets of spit springing from his mouth. We're trying to figure out what happened, but she won't tell us the truth, the old man sighs. The truth? I fucking told you. She fell and she was out here all alone this late. Only certain types of people walk around alone like that. The jogger clicks his tongue. I held on to this. It could be evidence. Evidence of what? She's a drug user. She probably has some sort of double life going on. The Catman's words march right over yours. Officer, please, just check that woman. She fell and she keeps going on about how that person fell, but it doesn't make a lick of sense, the old man says. She's a liar. Sweat from the Catman's palm slicks around your wrist and the dizzying nausea rises to the back of your throat. She's saying that woman fell from above and managed to land right in front of her. The jogger puffs his chest. It doesn't add up. The Koch nods with a solemn sense of understanding, his gaze sliding up and down you, pausing in places that make you want to shrivel. Please, she fell right in front of me. Please, please, just check on her. Do something. Someone do something. Your vision blurs with hot, wet tears. Ma'am, calm down. The cop sniffs at nothing, his wide nose wrinkling. Don't fucking tell me to calm down and fucking do something. Another tear glides down your cheekbone. You try to blink them away. She clearly has a hard time controlling herself. An over-emotional type for sure. An innocent person wouldn't act like this. A drug addict walks the streets alone and someone winds up dead. Tale as old as time. Sad, really. People like her are the reason that this area is so dangerous. They're talking so fast you can't keep track of who is speaking. Their voices blending together in a cacophony. It feels like there's a clamp around your chest that you can't get enough air. The cop shuffles towards the woman sprawled on the sidewalk, his hands on his hip, though he keeps glancing back at you with every step. He nudges her with his boot, examining the way her knee snapped backwards and the shape of the dark puddle that frames her face. She's dead, he says, and although there was a part of you that knew it, your heart feels leadened with guilt. Maybe if someone called in time, maybe if there was someone that could help, maybe she could have made it. Someone could have set her body right and her wounds would knit together, and one day this would be a memory and she would feel it in her aching bones on cold days. You've heard of miracles before, amazing things, people that have survived because they have to, but all of it feels so small now. And you should have known she was dead the minute she hit the concrete, and those eyes stared right through you. It hurts all the same, no matter how obvious it seems. Ma'am, put your hands behind your back. The officer reaches for something on his hip and your stomach sinks so fast you think you're gonna be sick. What? I didn't do anything. What? You expect us to believe you had nothing to do with this? The Catman shoves you in, and the sidewalk hits your knees with jagged pain. I didn't. Your lips quiver, desperate to find the words, but nothing fits together. I didn't do anything. You were walking here alone and someone happens to fall in front of you. And click in the cop's hands. I don't believe in coincidences. This statement is a cold splash in your face. Your entire body tenses. Run. The thought bashes through everything else in your mind. The urge primal, feral. You burst into a sprint, running past the men, past the cop. Someone grabs your arm and tries to yank you back, but and there's a pain like your elbow is going to pop out, but you know down to the very core of your being that you have to keep running. Adrenaline courses electric through your muscles, sprinting across the street and down the sidewalk. Hot wind whips across your face and your heart hammers against your ribcage. Blood thrums in your ears. Stop her! Get her! She did this! The shouts follow you as your feet pound against the pavement. An engine revs and you know It's the police cruiser before the lights splash everything in alternating red and blue. You have to hide, get out of the street, get away from the stoops in the open road. There's an alleyway, maybe dark enough to hide in. Garbage flips under your feet and you crash into the brick wall, your lungs burning and your legs beginning to ache. It doesn't matter. You force yourself to keep running. There's a wall, a wooden panel fence, heart frenzied like a caged bird. You're cornered. You're struck to dead end. He went this way. She's in there. The shouts bounce against the buildings and you're running out of time. Frantic, your eyes dart from wall to wall until you see a glint, a ladder, a fire escape. You fling yourself onto the first rung and pain darts through your muscles in protest, but you climb and climb as the metal screeches under your feet, under the first platform, onto the next ladder. A window lights up right next to you and a man with glasses throws it open, his hands falling into fists as he stares you down. She's here! Threading veins bulge in his neck as he screams. More lights flick on in the windows, each a yellow eye opening. You're too far up to go back. You keep climbing, willing your hands to be strong and steady as you pull yourself up. Catch her! This way! Get the killer! Different voices howl into the streets, silhouettes in the windows. A siren joins in their shouts. They are closing in. Your chest heaves, exhaustion settling in under the pain in your body as you climb up every level. Clanging vibrates the metal ladder. Someone is climbing after you, but there isn't time. You make yourself stare at the hazy sky getting closer to you with every step. The last rung is in your palm when you realize you've made it to the roof. You heave yourself over the edge, your body slumping over in a tired heap. Scalding needles lance through your lungs with every inhale. Your legs give out from exhaustion and you force yourself to crawl forward. There's a door up ahead, a door that must go to maintenance. A single beacon of hope. Your palms scrape against the rocky floor, dragging yourself towards it. It swings open. The old man steps out, then the jogger. Another man steps out behind them in a suit, then another, and another, and another. And soon, there is a wall of people, so many that they blur together, skin and muscles and glares. You glance back at the ladder that brought you here, and there's a man climbing over it and pulling himself onto the roof like you did moments ago. A hand snatches your arm so tight, his fingernails dig into the soft underside of your flesh. Let me go, I didn't do anything. You wish it sounded more intimidating, but every word is choked by your panting. Still, you're going to fight, no matter what, you're going to keep fighting. A barrier of bodies stare you down. Another hand reaches out to grab your shoulder. Another grabs your shin. Another grabs your shirt, and you see what little energy you have left is let out a scream that rips through the massive bodies like a geyser. They're pulling you, dragging you, more hands clutching more of you until you can't feel the ground under you. A fly caught in spider silk. The struggle you can muster is nothing against their resolute hold, against the pain shooting through your body, the exhaustion. Your screams of protest collapse into whimpers. They're moving you. The world is eclipsed by darkness, and the body parts, and no matter what, how hard you struggle, more hands find their way to your skin until the hands let go, all at once. For a brief glimpse, you can see them, lined up and glaring down at you with angry, twisted faces, but they slip away, and so does the night sky. You reach out, and only whistling air slips between your fingers, and it's then you realize that you're falling. You're falling. The ground is getting closer. So quick, you become a blur, plummeting through the sky. You fall like a meteorite striking the earth. The end.
So chat was exploding. I think you managed to upset everyone with how amazing your story is. Everyone, I've been emotionally destroyed. That was amazing. That story hurt. Damn, with like 18 A's. Incredible. So really well done. I know when I read it originally, you are really good at injecting the sense of claustrophobic panic. So really well done.
And the way you
Thank you.
delivered it.
Yeah, and the way
tonight.
you delivered it as well.
Whole
Made
nother
it
layer.
completely come to life. So thank you so much. That was amazing. And our next reader, Kay Wallace King. Hello. Welcome to the show. Kay Wallace King's most recent short fiction appears in Night Script 8. I had to think about those Roman numerals. And is upcoming this summer in Orca, Underland, Arcana and Chthonic Matter. She is also a proud member of the WGA, and she lives in Hollywood, California. Welcome.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. And thank you for joining us. Will you tell us a little bit about your story?
Oh, I've been sitting here thinking, what am I going to say about my story? Actually, the story was the idea was born because, like a lot of people, I get all kinds of emails about great places for sale that I could never afford or ever live in, like houses. And one was a lighthouse. And I just thought, oh, wouldn't it be so cool to live in a lighthouse? Except it was actually in the ocean and you would have to row out to the lighthouse. And then I thought, oh, you'd be trapped in the lighthouse, actually. And I just took it from there.
Amazing. And I did notice you didn't give me any social handles. Do you have any?
I have a website under construction. It'll be up probably by the end of next week. Just K Wallace King and K Wallace King at Insta, Facebook. I'm no longer on Twitter.
Okay. All right. But everyone, you can find her there. And the website was kwallaceking.com.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
So, lighthouse. On this coast, the sea was never gentle. The waves drew together in a wild pounding run for the sharp-toothed rocks, then, with a sigh, retreated to try again. It seemed to her that important patterns formed in the swirl and crash of the waves, that they disappeared before she could draw a breath. She had always loved the sea. Scissors cut paper. Water beats land. Water wins. The phone rang. When she picked up the phone, it showed a mother older than she thought her mother would ever become. Did I learn to swim in the ocean? Why, no, honey, at the YMCA in Toledo. You didn't see the ocean until Daddy took us to Atlantic City when you were 12. You learned to swim at the Y. You were a tadpole, then a minnow, but you flunked shark. I will be there at 2 to take you to the clinic. Honey, hold up the phone. I can't see you. Honey. Her mother remembered. She never graduated to shark, but it remained a smaller fish. Still, minnows were wonderful swimmers, silver flashing in enormous schools, a single mind. Maybe God was a shimmering silver mind in a vast sea. The sun slipped loose from a cloud, lit the water like a lantern. She hung her head out the high-up window, looking at the waving kelp forest, at flashes of iridescence, at jellyfish undulating in belly dancer rhythm. Tiger shark swim round and round to deep sea sounds. I'm making a poem. The silver mind of God swam on and on. The phone rang. Atlantic City, suntan lotion, hot sand, sticky fingers. The memories were in ocean. The phone rang. She leaned farther out her high-up window so the sea would drown the sound of it. She caught her breath. There was that girl again, slender as an eel, wind-tossed hair, barefoot on the rocky beach below. From up so high, the girl looked fragile as sea glass. Careful, she called from her up-high window. There's a riptide. The girl ignored her, or didn't hear, or didn't care. The girl was young. She was before fear. The girl splashed long-legged into the waves and then dove into the sea like something that belonged there. In the lighthouse, she stood up from her chair, the one upholstered with gold damask that she had lugged over to the window, the fabric representing a childhood wished for, not the one her mother had ordered from cheap catalogs. She leaned out the window, foam eddied below in tide pools. Gone. The girl was gone. The waves crashed against her lighthouse, and now she was afraid. The phone rang. The husband came into the room, and she pressed herself against the wall, the rounded wall of my lighthouse. Warning! She was crying with no sound, the worst kind. The husband held the phone out to her. Your mother calling back again. Come on, just say hello. She wouldn't say hello because then she'd have to say goodbye. She told him about the girl, that the girl was drowning, that she had warned her, help her. Stop it, Hannah. You sound like a lunatic. But it wasn't her fault, not the girl, not her body, not her life. Take a shower, he said. You're beginning to smell. She's drowning. Do something. He picked up her moldy coffee cups and plates with old chipped food and turned to her, his high-angled face with eyes a woman would sing for. Hannah, knock it off. It's bullshit. There's no girl. No one drowned on the sidewalk down there. Now your mother will be here in an hour to drive you over to Cleveland for your appointment. She stood slowly, all 92 pounds of her, winding what was left of her hair around her finger. You don't love me anymore. Hands full of plates and balanced coffee cups. Stop it. You're ridiculous. Sam, I need to tell you something. I have to go to work now. After the husband left, she crawled across the room. She pulled herself into the chair at the window. Of course he did. Have to go to work, want to leave her wasting body. She kept winding her hair around her finger. Stupid habit, a teenage habit. She hadn't been a teenager for a million years. She stared back out the window at the bucking water. The clouds had come up and the doorway to the sunlit sea was shut up tight, the surface now impenetrable as concrete. As she heard the engine start to take the husband away, she shouted, there was a girl. She was lissom as an acrobat and fearless as a tiger. The striped gray mouser tilted his ears toward her as he cleaned his paws. In the mirror, she saw that she was as thin as a woman full of fear can be. There was that girl again, she wrote in the journal of her mind. That's where she kept her notes, in her mind journal. There was that girl again, and I am here. I am just sitting here. The waves tossed and slapped the walls of her tower, while inside her body, rogue cells swam deeper into her uterus. She felt the sea inside herself crash against her throat, where last gasps are, waves rising higher to tubes and noses and the smell of antiseptic, and where the final awful stink awaited. She looked out her high up window. There she is again. The girl was waving, full of remembered sun, summer sand, and hot hope. Up in the lighthouse window, she waved back and stood up. Wide armed, she dove, her mind a golden shimmer, like all girls before fear. Beneath white caps, above gently bellowing kelp, she floated. Then, with a powerful kick, she swam away from being told, swam away silver, shining in the great vast sea, like something that belonged there.
Thank you so much. That was so good. Although our audience are now claiming that we are increasing their heart rate and giving them anxiety in the best possible way. But yes, definitely gave me the yellow wallpaper vibes. It's very well done. Diane, oh, well, you're right here. Let me, here you can unmute. Said she loves the imagery all throughout.
Yes, sorry, I keep meaning to put the comments to everyone. I had to change it from just to you.
Okay, Steve Neal, I don't know if I want to read that. Oh, wait, I totally misread that. Whoa, but I'm literally going to get ice cream to soothe myself. So I also mentioned that we didn't think to include therapy as part of the giveaways. We'll just, I'm not going to say what I read. I blame it on Carson. I think he's a bad influence. Next up, let me get the pronunciation on this one because I'm sure I said it wrong in the podcast I do. Rhymes with notch. Okay, Joe Koch. Did I do that? Yay!
Perfect.
Okay. Joe Koch writes literary horror and surrealist trash. Their books include The Wingspan of Severed Hands, Convulsive, and The Couvade.
Oh, Kool-Aid.
Couvade, thank you, which received a Shirley Jackson Award nomination in 2019. Their short story Short fiction appears in publications such as Visterion, Southwest Review, Children of the New Flesh, and the Queer Book of Saints. You can find Joe online at horrorsong.blog or on Twitter at horrorsong. Welcome, Joe.
Hi.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Okay, my story is called By Their Bones Ye Shall Know Them. It's inspired by my own experience of going through the wrong puberty, by my experience working with family planning for about 20 years, and working with people who, in many cases, had difficulty accessing abortion care or adoption, or just finding even options, and seeing what people go through when they do not have access to care. And also, it's very much influenced by the ironic contrast I see in America these days between the rights of guns and gun owners versus the rights we have for our own bodies. So I'll just read you a little bit from the beginning of the story. By their bones ye shall know them. From his belly there protruded a fine firm bone, a slender bulge above the navel one might mistake for a dislocated rib. Clays was old enough to understand armory season had come late this year, young enough to think his gravid state could elude the elders indefinitely. With the taste of hot metal building like gum decay upon his tongue, firing time approached with biology's natural and relentless inevitability. And the bone inside him, hungry for bullets, pressed its aggressive barrel outward, aiming at disclosure from beneath Clay's pale skin. Skinny and sick, he ran away. Clays had a vague idea that somewhere beyond Paradise Territory's border, there dwelled renegade doctors who might cure him of puberty's gift. He'd failed to purge the steely bone and its spleen-crushing stalk with induced vomiting and surreptitious starvation. Laxatives left him weak. Downing a bottle of cough syrup knocked him out, but he woke up still bulging. Finally desperate, Shy pleas to Catherine to hit him in the stomach with a baseball bat escalated into a fight. Her screech of betrayal followed as he fled to the dusty highway over the border. Didn't he understand? Dodging the draft was a crime. Mesmerized by disbelief that this was now his life, his future, all other possibilities erased by the violence of his inherited marrow seeking genetic self-expression, his freedom forfeit to the war effort, Clays followed the empty highway on foot, equally fearful the existence of rebels outside the territory might be myth or truth. Feet heavy with combustion propellant edema, will weakened by the needy weapon growing longer and feeding from his gut. Clays gave up hope under the hellish sun. No wonder it was illegal to leave. No human could survive out here. He veered into the weeds and succumbed to the sweet lure of rest or death. It didn't matter which. The ditch was shallow. Ants, flies, and hoppers avoided Clay's metallic sweat and smoke-charred breath. But curious pill bugs gathered near his belt. Many more amassed quietly in his palms as he stared upward, eyes open to the sky's brightness, to let everything else turn black. The ground trembled. Rumbling from the highway grew louder and slowed to an idle. Footsteps across the sandy berm brought a shadow over Clays. Thirsty, hon? I've got water. She might have been his mother's age or older. The strangeness of her clothing told him she was from elsewhere, not from Paradise Territory, not the skylands of the enemy, not even the mythical ocean he'd read about in storybooks. This must be what renegades dressed like. The coolness of her shadow cloaked him in uneasy relief. Clays thrilled that the rumors were true. Where there were people, he'd find doctors. where there were doctors, the possibility of release. Thanks.
Yay. Some comments in chat. This story hurt me like it hurt so bad. Carson says this story is so good. Cronenbergian absurdist with a killer central metaphor. The story has been haunting me for weeks. And Jolie, the editor, said this story gave me that sick feeling at the bottom of my stomach when I read it the first time. I had to take a break. So really well done and thank you. Welcome, Sarah. So glad you're here.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you hear me okay? Just checking. I'm borrowing some
yes.
headphones. Okay,
Yes,
great.
it's
It's great to be
great.
here. Yeah.
Yes. And I think, oh, so our next reader though is, make sure I say this right. I'm gonna say that before every reader, I swear. Oh, there's no pronunciation guide, so this isn't my fault if I say this wrong. Tania Chen.
Yay.
Yay, I did it.
Yeah, you're good.
Yes. Tania Chen is a Chinese Mexican writer and poet of living nightmares with a soft spot for pink stationery. Their work was selected for the Brave New Weird anthology by Tenebris Press and has appeared in Apparition Lit, Strange Horizons, Baffling Magazine, among others. They're Uncanny Magazine's assistant editor and can be found on Twitter at Archie Stratigo or through their shiny new webpage, which I'll share. That's Chen Tania, wordpress.com. But again, I'll share that. Can you tell us a little something about your story that you'll be reading?
I am very proud of this story. I am I was so like pleased that it's in this anthology with so many like amazing people. And this story, it has a very personal backstory, so I won't share that because it's like too much info, too long of a story behind the story, as they say. And it's a little bit of like when you have some news that come to you, kind of like what's the first reaction, like what happens to you? And I think everybody, you know, when you get like shocking news, you react in different ways, but this is just kind of like my experience with shocking news. And yeah, it's called Speak of the Hunger. Eviction. She enunciates the word, brings it to life at the threshold of the entrance. The door was hospital white once, but the termites nesting in the bowels have turned it the color of a chronic smoker's teeth. There is a sickly sweet scent that follows from the outside in, or is it the inside out? She cannot tell. The zapote tree by the doorway sits full of fruit, and bats decorated like Christmas ornaments in the most blinding humidity. Her eyes sting. Sweat drips along her spine, pulling at the small of her back. It's absurd, she thinks. The fruits are barely ripe. The scent cannot come from them. It's absurd, she says, the paper with the red stamp and bold letters, office neat against the surrounding jungle framing the doorway. It's absurd, she repeats, trying to bring that thought to life, and with it banish the chaos brought on by that notice. As if by simply wishing, she can vanish into thin air, gathering against the ceiling of the house, where the light bulbs hang like unclothed stars waiting to be plucked. There are no eviction notices in her wishes. It all remains standing, the walls like soldiers, protected. Her insides are scraped raw by a neatly dressed spoon at the opposite end of the door. They're smiling, a blue ribbon tied at the neck, and they nod, fox sympathy lined at the edges of the expression. But the scraping does not stop until her insides are spilled across the threshold like a welcome mat. This house, with its damp walls and peeling paint, is still her home. Where am I supposed to go? I don't have another place. I have nothing. I'll starve. The chairs with lolling tongues, thick and white, rough like a cat's, lap at her heels. So hungry. The wet imprint makes the humidity worse, suffocating inside and out. There's a bill here, paid and stamped, If she could only find it among the moths chewing, chewing, chewing. Horrid crunching replaces the silence. Hunger is an ugly thing, she knows. It sits, trapped between tongue and throat, burning and biding its time. The longer the gnawing pains rotting the inside stay, the hungrier you are. Hunger is a creeping thing. It slithers, waits at the edge of the bed, perched like a shrike, singing like a canary, a crescendo as it makes its nest in a kitchen bowl. Hunger is a gentleman with hollowed out cheeks and a smoker's teeth that sits on the buffalo skin sofa in the living room, watching with eyes of glass, her reflection buckling and bending under the pressure. Her face looks like the melted circuitry of the Asian box TV in the basement. And beneath hunger is that crushing knowledge that you can never leave, that it's over once those teeth have sunk in. But hunger doesn't care what you think of it. And this house is hungry. Hungrier than she has ever been in her entire life. Hungrier than the woman could ever be. She closes the door, trailing viscera along the hall, the paid bill clutched in one tiny hand as hunger clings to the writhing folds of her skirt. Snakes upon snakes, hissing a warning. Now that the proof is there, she can lock it in the cupboard, slit its throat. Her skin is not sticking to the walls, sleek and wet. Her bones are next, knocking together on the cracked floor tiles as the house cries out in hunger. Slowly, her insides are unspooled in thick, ropey lines of meat. Eviction. This time she thinks the word to keep it small, to keep it from becoming real. Then, the last parts of her body can go in the garden, next to the sapote tree, where the spoon and the spade, dressed in their best, will grow a small rose bush from her fragments. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Some comments. Gorgeous. I'm not going to try to read the Spanish. Because I
Wait, I
won't
want
punish
to.
people. Okay, you try.
Andale, Tania. Eso. Amazing.
Oh, this imagery is giving me the shivers. And incredible descriptions of hunger. Brilliant. Lush language. And I want to be Tania when I grow up.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have our last reader. It's already that time. Sarah Pauling. Did I say your last name right?
Yes,
Excellent. Oh, I'm doing a good job today. Sarah Pauling lives in Seattle with 2 cats and a husband. A graduate of the Viable Paradise Workshop, her stories have appeared in places like Strange Horizons, Escape Pod, and Clark's World. If approached without sudden movement, she can be found at Paulings on Twitter. Welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, sure. So on the surface level, it's sort of based on a Brothers Grimm era trope that I wish we hadn't let go from our fairy tales, which is a glass mountain. So just like a mountain made entirely of glass that people are either trapped inside of or that you have to climb to the top of to rescue someone. And I think that's a really visually interesting trope, and it's really eerie to me. And I think part of the reason for that eeriness is that you might be going through something very dangerous, but you're completely exposed, that everyone can see you through the glass. And that's not really something that those fairy tales that I've read with this trope linger on, but it's what stood out to me. And I think that's really interesting when I start to think about sort of, well, what are ways that we watch each other? What are ways that we surveil each other when we're, in a bad situation? Or what are the ways we might want each other and watch each other, but can't reach each other? So I kind of mashed together a couple specific fairy tales that I've read, one in Brothers Grimm, and one is, I believe, a Polish fairy tale, and then did some original work around that. So the story is called Mother Mansrot in the Glass Mountain. Let's find my notes. Okay. There were walls within the glass mountain, just as clear as its sheer cliff sides. There were floors within the glass mountain, and ceilings too, but they left just as little to the imagination. a shining citadel of rooms, a pyramid stripped of secrets. Even the palace fit snugly at the mountain's heart, set bare to the rest of us. The princess shed light like dandruff from the glinting gemstones of her dress. 4 rooms below, my back aching and my hands cracked from the washing water, I would clutch my broom's handle and watch her petticoats trail. When I first arrived, the mountain folk, for all our human filth and decay, seemed a relief to look upon. My eye caught on them through 100 glass floors, a reprieve from transparency and light. But after years of watching the royal huntsman slaughter deer in the crystal forest, watching the stable boy shit in the huntsman's stew, watching the blacksmith and the butcher breed, I grew restless. My thoughts turned, again, to escape. I was plucking peas for old Rinkrank's supper when I first saw the youth outside the mountain. He was a stocky thing, bred on corn and beef from the village. His broad shoulders made his pack look small. He ambled toward the mountain's base, eyes raised toward the distant princess as his hands floated to his lips, as his nails pinched the fragile skin to tug strips of it away. I was gathering green vegetables in a ground-level harvest room where the glass magnified the sunlight into a heat that dabbed sweat onto my papered skin. When he saw me watching, he approached the cliffside between us. "Good afternoon, old mother," he said, voice sapped by the glass. "I'm not your mother," I told him, "though they call me Mother Mansrot." "Who does?" "My master and his like." My knees protested as I gathered up my bucket and scissors. I turned to leave. If Rinkrank looked down from his rooms to see me dawdling, I'd sleep in the stables again. "I'm here to save the princess," the youth said. "Of course you are, of course. But I'm smarter than the others were." My breath caught. I whirled on him. "And why is that?" I stalked to the glass, pressed my fist to its surface. "You can climb sheer glass, outsmart the great eagle and see past the trick mirrors. What do you have that 100 men and all the others did not have?" The youth's eyes widened. Then his abused lips edged into a smirk like we shared a secret. "I'm a good listener," he said. The mountain was no older than the princess. That's all anyone knew for sure. When I was a young woman in the village, shy and strange in ways that rubbed up under my skin like a rash on backwards, I'd heard it said that a foreign king had protected his daughter by growing a wall of glass around her heart. He gave her dresses and soldiers and servants and commanded her not to age. He bid her to wed whatever brave soul could pull her out of the mountain. No matter what, no matter who. I believed that once. Why else would I have come? I'd cross the woods again and again to visit her. I'd picnic at the mountain's base, watching her pace her raised and inset quarters like a fox in a trap, watching her freckles wax and wane with the seasons like the moon's reflection in water, just as my freckles did in the sun. She never watched me back. Thank you.
Amazing. You had the audience laughing like crazy here.
I had the screen minimized, but I could see like one person laughing and I was like, yeah.
A lot. I'm also a huge fan of fairy tales, so I really appreciated this one when I read it originally in the book. So I'm also a big fan. I'll paste this again, and then we'll get Jolie back. Hopefully, if she's well. Jolie, come back to us, Jolie.
I'm live now. Let me see if I can start my video.
Oh,
I cannot start my video.
Wait, I gotta do it. I wasn't that fast. Oh my god, just give me a second. Okay.
Meanwhile, I'm like,
There.
let me rearrange my screen.
Yeah.
Let me rearrange everything.
Okay, super exciting. So the last prize is the biggest and the most amazing. It is a physical copy of Aseptic and Faintly Sadistic, stickers, bookmark, and a t-shirt. But that means that you don't just win it by winning it, you have to play a game.
Woo!
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna make you work for it. So Chelsea's gonna share her screen and run it with Jolie.
So the way you all are gonna win this is in chat. So you're gonna have to be fast if you want to win.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me rearrange real quick because I need to be able to see the chat. Okay,
Julie says, just tell me what to burn down. Okay, calm down.
We did briefly consider like a segment where I would burn a bra on camera, but
Yeah. It
I
might set
might
off
have
the fire
lost-
alarm though.
I might have lost my job if that was ever aired. So.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
was
everyone.
also an option to put a curse on a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
That was also in the, that was also
Yes.
in the think.
Everyone is saying for Bertha, burn it all down, but let's calm down here.
Julie, do you want to introduce the game's the rules, or do you want me to? How you feeling?
Go for it.
All right, so hopefully most of you are familiar with the game Jeopardy. If you are not, we have 3 categories here to align with the theme of hysteria. We have 4 questions under fictional frenzies, the silver screaming, and then historical. All of the answers will be a woman or a person. And if you're not familiar with Jeopardy, you usually answer in the form of a question, which is who is or what is. So be quick on your keyboards if you want to rack up some prizes. And Jolie will call on our readers to pick our categories.
Oh,
And if you
let's start-
cheat, then your karma will get you. So watch out.
If you cheat, there are several witches in this chat. I'm
Facts.
just saying. Let's start with Wallace. Wallace, where are we going?
Let's go to historical.
For how much money or
Or
points?
let's make it 400.
Endowed with the gift of prophecy, but cursed to never be believed, this woman causes most women to say, yeah, girl, same.
So we have a lot of quick answers for Cassandra. Yeah. All right. First one I saw
Yay.
was Chris. So Chris, you have 400 points. I will calculate these once the game is over. All right.
All right, let's go down the list. Laura.
Let's take silver screaming for 200, please.
Somebody who hasn't been fucked like that since grade school.
Person. Who is that lady from Fight Club? Awesome. Yes. So Carson was the first to weigh in. We have Marla Singer. Sorry, I'm taking over the answers, Julie. This is your.
You're welcome to it, man. I'm okay with just reading the questions and not making everybody hear me all
Oh,
stuff.
Carson doesn't even want his points. Okay, let's see. That would be
Damn,
Julie
Carson.
then. All right, Julie, you got some sympathy points.
All right, let's go for Tania.
All right, I will take fictional frenzies for 600.
All right.
This woman quite enjoys the room now it is bare again.
All right. No immediate.
Ah ha ha ha.
Do we do the Are we gonna run out of time? All
Let's
right.
see, how long should we give them? Oh no, nobody gets this.
Oh,
Oh, Carson.
All right, it's going to Sophia.
Sophia's getting it.
No.
Carson's just feeding answers to the rest of the crew.
Carson, we're gonna block you in a minute. I don't care if you publish the damn thing.
It's okay, Sophia. Carson
You're
doesn't want his
out.
points. Awesome.
All right, Joe, you're up next.
Historical for 800. Let's go big.
ooh,
All
spicy.
right.
Go big or go home.
Exactly.
If you had a husband problem in Italy in the 1600s, this woman could solve it with poison disguised as face cream. Who is my personal hero? This is a hard one. This is a really hard one.
The lady on the YouTube
That's why it's
channel.
worth so many points.
I have no clue personally. I don't know. I'm so curious though.
I learned a lot by making this game with Jolie. It's a lady with a lot of flowers.
It is Jolie's favorite. Yeah, it is for sure Jolie's favorite historical figure. That works.
right.
All right. No,
We might time it
points for
out.
This one. Her name is Julia Tofana. And if you want to look her up and if you want to have a really good night. All right, let's
Time
see.
to Google.
Who did Joe? Did we just do Joe? Diane, you're up.
Let's go with fictional frenzies for 400.
400.
This Shakespearean drowned woman could tell you everything you need to know about the abortificant properties of flowers.
I got a lot of Ophelias in the chat.
Yeah, we got them.
I have Sarah first. Sarah Pauling. Yes. I love everyone who's like, too fast. Fuck.
Y'all are quick. Do you type for a living or something?
Alex, it's on you.
All right. I'm also gonna follow Joe's footsteps, and we're gonna go with the silver screaming for 800.
All
right. This psychologist wakes up in a psychiatric hospital with a justifiably dead husband and quickly learns how little women are believed. Yeah,
I
you
know
gotta be
this
serious
one.
for the 800 points.
I don't even know this one. Maybe.
Pom, you can answer it and then award your points to a lucky person if you'd like.
I'm waiting to see. Is it I want to say Gothica.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I should have said her name. Sorry. That's like the movie. I want
All
to
right.
give it to, I think I want to give it to Tyler Morris because he gave us a fun fact about Ophelia being Greek for aid or healer.
Wow. 800 free points for fun facts. Now everybody pay
Good exchange rate.
attention.
That is pretty good, man.
I love fun facts.
All right, Sarah.
I'm gonna do silver screaming for 600.
All right.
Also known as a screaming dish rag, this woman comes to understand she married a monster while trapped in a hotel.
Oh.
Very scene bearer, Mom.
You get the points just for saying it.
Good. All right. I feel like
we
Elle should
got
get it. Oh, Nina should get it. Y'all need to remember her name. Put some respect on Wendy's name. Jolie, you pick. Do we want to accept Wife from The Shining or do we go to the first Mrs. Torrance?
Oh, let's be good and do Wife from The Shining because that's
All
the level of mental acumen that I've got right now too.
Got it.
I mean, you gave it to me and all I said was the movie title. So.
That's
All right,
true.
you know what?
What?
PL, you tell us where we're going.
Oh, yay. I want to learn a little more. So let's do historical for 200. I want to find out some more real people.
This woman, in the throes of being sick of everyone's shit, made headlines when she shaved her own head and attacked a car with an umbrella.
Ooh, Elle was so fast on that one.
Yes, Elle.
Sheesh.
Justice for Brittany over here.
Justice for Brittany.
Our
Free
girl.
Brittany. I love how pissed Sophia is in the chat.
Justice for Brittany.
Awesome.
All right, Chelsea, you get one now. Go ahead, and I'll do the last three when we're done.
All right, I'm going to finish off the silver screaming for 400.
All right. She is the actually pretty justified when you think about it, weirdos, mister. Let me see, the girl from the craft.
I don't remember the answer. I do now. Yeah, it came to me. Laura Blackwell. Got it.
Yes, Nancy.
Yay. Such an icon.
So Julie, you were close. Apologies. Sorry, Marina.
All right, let's do, I can't believe we haven't done fictional frenzies and this is a reading. We're doing fictional frenzies for 200.
All right. 200. Excuse you, PowerPoint. Thank you.
After years
Jesus
of imprisonment, she burned her husband's house to the ground and leaped to her death.
That was preternaturally fast.
We stand Bertha, says
Yes,
Nina.
yes. I had to.
Nailed it.
Bertha. We would also accept
Yay.
Antoinette. If you get Antoinette, you get like, I don't know, a blood fealty from me.
Some quick draws in here.
Let's do historical for 600 because I don't remember what that one is.
Let's find out.
This woman was one of the first to be accused of witchcraft, outsmarting her accusers by making more and more outlandish accusations, which ironically saved her life and reputation.
This is hysterical, and I
Hysterical-
apologize for my
Hysterical,
typo.
Historical. Tyler got it.
Tyler!
Yes, Tyler.
Good job,
Damn, Tyler's
Tyler.
gonna take it because of his
Yeah, Tyler's
sympathy
getting the
points.
win.
I didn't read any of this.
He's gonna have to fight Chris, who earned them.
All right,
That is a
let's
cool
rock out
story.
the last one. Fictional frenzies for 800. She is the companion of two children whom she grows to increasingly distrust, but honestly, they might just be weird as fuck.
I know this one.
Ooh,
Mhm.
I don't
believe-
know her name, but everyone's
So-
like that one.
Yeah, they're right. Because
that's okay. We have it there as well.
I would take either the lady or I would take the governess. So yeah, you've got it. You the lady. I'll take the lady from Turn of the Screw for that one.
Nina got that one. Go
Yeah.
Nina. Okay. I need to do some quick math. Great job, everybody.
Yay!
You all distract now while I do this.
All right. While we wait, let's do some Q&As. Type your questions in chat. If you want it to go to somebody specific, hit us up with that name. And we can rake these authors over the hot coals. Let's punish them. Carson says, kill them. This is why we do a
That
podcast
wasn't the
together.
plans. See, this is why you can't hang out.
Finish him.
Finish him though. Chris can stay.
Teresa said she loved how all the answers were worded. Sarah, you can just ask that.
It seemed to be appropriate for a Q&A, you know?
Yeah. How are you all so cool and sexy, everyone? Who would like to answer this one?
I got it from my mama.
Nice. Thanks, Mom. Julie also says she has a jug of kerosene for the winner. Christine Wolfram, hopefully I said your last name right, asks, who is your favorite fictional unhinged lady of all time? Joe, hit you up first. I'm like the teacher, if you don't answer, I'm
Joe,
just gonna
straight
call
on the
you.
spot.
I'm
That's what
really
happened.
terrible on on the spot stuff. Like you have to ask me a week in advance to come up with
Fair.
answers for anything.
You know what? I think, okay, I'll go for mine first.
Okay, good.
For sure, Mary Cat from We Have Always Lived in the Castle. In fact, if we had ended up with a tie for Jeopardy, there was going to be a Shirley Jackson lightning round.
Nice. Does Ripley count? Because in the second Aliens, like they don't believe her about how
Mhm.
dangerous the aliens are. So they kind of treated her like she was hysterical, and then she had to save all of them in the giant mecha suit. Elle says, so Joe, a week ago, who was your favorite unhinged female character of all time? But people also agree that they feel for you about being put on the spot. Carson says, sorry, pick another one, too bad. I thought you were asking if Ripley counts as fictional. I'm assuming she's fictional. Does anyone else have any answers?
I don't think that she's like she's unhinged, but she's not like top level unhinged. But
No.
who keeps coming to mind for me is Mrs. Coulter from His Dark Materials specifically. She's like mid-level unhinged, but there are some moments where I'm like, wow, I'm obsessed with you and I don't understand how your brain works.
Good answer. Good answer.
Oh, I love Pearl. Yes,
Pearl.
Carson. I will totally second that one.
Yeah.
We do have winners, but if you would like
okay.
to keep Q&A.
Okay, everyone hit drums. And everyone hit your drums. Also think of questions for after this.
All right.
Okay,
So
Chelsea.
PL, you might have some haters after this because Tyler is the winner of the game.
Hey.
Congrats, Tyler. A close second
Nice
place.
work, Tyler.
Chris was second place, and Nina, that 800
Chris, do not
800 point question got you third place, but unfortunately no prizes. Go Tyler.
So Tyler, again, that's a copy of the book, Aseptic and Faintly Sadistic, a t-shirt, stickers, and bookmark. Chelsea will be reaching out through the email that that you provided when you reserved your ticket to get your shipping info and all that fun stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, thanks everyone for playing. So again, Carson says he might be willing to throw an ebook at second place, maybe.
Oh, okay,
That
that would be
stickers
Chris.
and the ebook and stuff at second place too. Chelsea, keep
Yeah.
all three of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
keep all the second and third place. You'll also be getting prizes. It's a fucking
Ebooks for
email.
every ebooks for everyone who's here.
Yes. But if you do want a physical copy, they are available. I love how like I was the chaotic goblin causing distress and Carson's the one saving the day for me. It's not my fault.
We love you, Carson.
I really love I love Gothica as a movie. I feel like I got all the Silver Scream ones in my head, but okay, questions. Does anyone have any questions? While we wait, I will just start putting people on the spot. So Diane, what's number one piece of advice you'd give a person just starting out writing?
Starting out writing, I think it's just to like sit down and write things. I feel like that's always the hardest part, is just starting with it. And I think like also not being embarrassed of whatever you write, like worrying about it being to this or that, because I think people are embarrassed to write fan fiction or romance, and I say people, I mostly mean women. So like I mean that, like to write whatever that you're interested in and not worry about the audience or what anybody else might think. So
Perfect. Laura, Nina asks, hypothetically, what would be your murder weapon of choice? Hypothetically, definitely nothing happening.
Purely
Realsies.
hypothetical.
You know, I'm very tempted by the whole clue board, but I just think there's nothing quite so womanly as the poison. It's just such a classic.
True.
After my own heart.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put it in face creams, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it in a face
I was wondering,
cream.
was that lead? Did they have lead in it? Because that was a real problem with because they would try to use white face powder and it would have lead in it.
What she did is it was poison on purpose in a face cream jar, and the police never figured it out because they were like, oh, it's girly shit, and completely ignored it. And it took like years and years.
That's like when you go to a concert now and you want to bring your drugs, you just throw tampons on top of it. They're like, oh,
Perfect. Yeah. Get your hands off.
Oh no.
Nina says, or you can
You're
have that
good, you're
ring,
good.
that ring with the compartment on it, so you can store poison and just poop,
Poisoning is art.
Exactly. This is directed to everyone. Did you write any uber super ragey, burn it all down, the match was lit drafts of your story before you came up to your final version? That's from L. Wallace King, would you like to answer first? So you're just putting people on the spot.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Yeah, but I can do that and fill in another story, but this wasn't this one.
What about you, Alex? Laurel Lanz?
I think I tried to put as much of my rage in it as humanly possible and tried to keep that the beating heart that lived through every iteration of it. So yes and no, in a way.
Also unrelated, Nina says, I love the French doors behind Wallace King.
They lie beyond, who knows?
From me, with all the questions, what was one author who deeply influenced you in your writing career? Anyone wants to jump in on that one? Tania?
Oh, I was Jeff Vandermeer actually inspired a lot of my writing. I just love how weird this stuff is. I love that weirdness.
Chris
This is what happens when you
Eversole.
put me in the spot.
Yeah, Chris Eversole says it should have been Shirley Jackson, and Elle says this
And
is
why
the
is it
only
Shirley
answer.
Jackson?
So that's
I
fair.
am sorry. I'm sorry. I do love Shirley Jackson as well. Definitely peak influence as well.
Sarah, how about you? A literary influence?
You know, I think probably I was going to say Tiptree, actually, James Tiptree, because I mean, she's coming in from the science fiction side, but she's got so much of that sort of like, every time you read one of her short pieces, it's A, really creative with point of view and language, and B, makes like this pit of despair open up into the bottom of your stomach in a way that is like really, really impressive, I think, and does it like all wrapped up with like really good artistic sensibilities as well. So she's not exactly horror, she's more science fiction that feels like horror to me. But like Tiptree was also like, wow, you can do so much stuff with a short story. You're just like allowed to do that. You're just allowed to like write it that way. Wow, you can use that point of view. So
Amazing. Joe, how about you? Is this less putting you on the spot?
That's okay.
I'm trying to be
Yeah.
gentle on you.
I haven't read Tiptree, but now I want to. So I was thinking, I always forget to mention that William S. Burroughs is like a big influence on me, because I read him like when I was a kid in high school, and like just thinking about his work, when I thought I would try writing decades later, I was like, well, I can try this. I don't have to know what I'm doing. You know, you can kind of do anything. So I still kind of try to go back to that influence of feeling okay about not having gone to school for this, and just finding my way through.
And I think this should be the easiest one. How about I'm going to hit everyone with this, so just be prepared. Let me know.
Joe can go last.
Joe can go last.
I need a
Time to
week.
prepare. Well, why don't
We'll
you
give you like 7 minutes.
Yeah. Why don't you tell the audience if you have anything, what you're working on now, and if you have anything coming out in the future. So let's start with Wallace King.
Yeah, I have like 3 stories coming out in like the next couple of months. One coming out in June 2, 3, and I'm working on a new novel.
Oh, amazing. That's really cool. You're like, man, it happens.
I didn't mean that. I'm not good at this stuff. I should just go behind the French door. Observe.
Tania, if you could answer, but also tell us your kitty's name. Nina needs to know.
Bonus question.
Her name is Salmon, and she's a special needs kitty. She has a condition in which for some reason her own immune system attacks her body, so she's a special needs. She's the love of my life. And she's been me through thick and thin. And I love her.
Salmon.
I would die for my cat.
Babies.
Yeah,
to answer the question.
Yeah, to answer the question.
Yeah.
I mean, the important question was about the cat, but we can now talk about you.
I mean, we can keep talking about the cat, you know. I love my cat. Upcoming stuff, I have a poem with Strange Horizons. They have a special issue with wuxia and xianxia. So like sword and sorcery, Chinese sword and sorcery. That's not quite accurate, but yeah, I have a poem coming out there. So I hope everybody will like it if you read it.
Awesome. Your
Lo-
story was so poetic that I imagine reading your like designated poetry is incredible. Sorry, interrupted.
Thank you.
Chelsea. That's fine. Laura?
I am seeking representation for my exoplanetary Gothic novel.
Ooh.
Your DMs are open if there's anyone in chat.
And I am working on a retelling of Rappaccini's Daughter from the point of view of a character I made up.
Okay, so I think that you and I are the same person because I am also working on a retelling of Rappaccini's Daughter. It's just any woman in a story who got the short end of the stick, right? It's gonna bother you for your whole life, because that's what it is for me.
The literature, I guess.
We want both of them.
Nina also says, after that Bertha story, I will read anything you throw our way, Laura.
Thank you.
Yes.
Next up, Diane.
So I'm like in the middle of some projects, so I'm not really submitting anything, but I'll plug my YouTube channel, which I talk about writing. I have my latest videos about curio fiction. It's a new speculative subgenre I'm trying to coin, so you can watch that. I'm also the fiction editor for Consequence, so our latest issue just got out, and that's all about the consequences of war and geopolitical violence. So there's a lot of similar themes maybe to this anthology in some ways about that. So yeah, Consequence is great to pick up and read.
And what was the name of your YouTube channel?
Oh, it's called Quotidian Writer. It's that's the quotidian, the terrible word
no.
that's hard to spell.
Oh,
Yes,
find
that's the
it.
one. But if you look for Diane Callahan, it'll also pop up.
I think I should have it right.
Yes, so yeah, just Diane
in the bio,
Callahan,
I
Quotidian
think.
Writer. Yeah.
Here we go. So here's the YouTube channel. There we go. Alex.
So I am wrapping up a novel, which is a horror sci-fi exoplanet scary shit sci-fi horror thing.
Awesome.
I am wrapping that up, and eventually I'll get back to editing it, but that's where I'm at. I'm pretty much always trying to churn out short stories. So,
Amazing. Sarah.
Well, I just had a piece of Flash republished with Pseudopod that came out last week. That was a horror piece. And I have to say, guys, like the narrator, speaking of unhinged heroines, she is my unhinged heroine. Like it's this amazing, it's set during an exorcism of a woman who's possessed by a demon. And this narration, I just like listen to it over and over again. So I do want to plug that more for her than for me on Pseudopod from last week. But I'm working on a novella that's actually also set on an exoplanet, weirdly enough, but it's slightly, yay, exoplanet team. More about a race of sentient machines that have since developed their own culture, still wrapped up in a war with a human empire that's trying to take them back into the fold. But meanwhile, there's sort of a plague of nanites that are basically making machines lose their minds. So it's meant to be a little bit, little space opera, a little bit hard science fiction, mostly opera though.
Perfect. And I think we gave you enough time now. Joe, are you ready?
Sure. So my novella, The Wingspan of Severed Hands, is coming out in Spanish translation.
Ooh,
And that's up for
Awesome.
pre-order now. I'm trying to think of what I can talk about. I have 2 projects where contracts are signed, but I can't actually tell you about them. Sorry. I have short stories coming out. And the one through Ghost Orchid Press in the anthology Les Petites Morts is that I can talk about. Yeah, that's about it. Just a lot of short stories here and there, a lot of exciting anthologies, but some of them haven't been announced, so
Well, we'll
I have
get
to
the
keep my
secrets from
secrets.
you.
Sorry.
We'll get them from you eventually. But yeah, and
We're-
I just want
We're
to
big
thank.
fans. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say we are
Oh my
big
gosh.
fans of Ev over here in Lake Petite Mort. If you guys like that sort of thing, pick it up. It's so good. It's going to be incredible.
That gives me a lead in to say I'm actually hosting the launch event on June 20th. You can click the link in the chat. It's also free. There's giveaways. It'll be similar to this event with live readings and fun stuff. But yeah, I wanted to thank all of the authors for coming out and giving us some time and reading from your delightful fiction. Also, thanks to Jolie and Chelsea for running the giveaways and the amazing event. And thank you to the audience members for coming out and spending your Saturday with us. It was amazing. So at this point, I will wrap up and say thank you again. And we hope to see you next time.